Oh, yeah?
Oh, yeah. You little Kentucky boy. We'll start calling you Kentucky Fried Chicken. So, as we were saying a little bit earlier, guys, a lot of times people get into the whole bushcraft survival stuff because they see shows like Naked and Afraid, but that's really not a real life scenario. Nobody's ever going to steal our pants and make us just live out like cavemen trying to figure it out, right? We're going to have our backpack. You know, and one of those things, that's a knife. Pretty knife, huh? So it's one of those things where, let's say I'm walking in the woods, a real life situation, like I'm hiking on a multiple day camping trip and I forget my pack. Like I'm hiking and I take a break and I start hiking again and I leave my pack. That's probably the only time where I'm gonna be separated from my pack. But guess what? I'm probably not gonna walk for 3 days and not realize I haven't got my pack. You know, realistically, you might walk 20 yards before you go, uh-oh, I left my backpack, and you just turn around and get it.
That's a
It's a little spider web, yeah. So, you just turn around and get it. Even if you might walk a mile, you know, you just come back and get your pack, right? So what's important is what's inside of the pack. You know, just different things that might help you out. Like even in the side pockets, I've got some extra pieces of fat wood, which fat wood is meaning a term for an evergreen tree like pine or cedar or any kind of evergreen tree that is dead and full of sap. You guys can see how that's kind of shiny. It's because it's full of sap right there. So, I've got a hatchet in here. That's pretty important.
What is that?
Some of these tools right here is actually a bow style fire making tool, like to where if I got out all the equipment, I would sit here and wrap this around and use this like a bow if I get that untangled, right?
What is that?
That's a hatchet.
What's a hatchet?
So I've got this little guy. This is a draw knife. So this is handy because it's a knife shaped like this. And it keeps, go ahead and get back just a little bit, bud, because these are sharp. And that makes it safe. See, the blade's on this side. I wouldn't really want to sit there and come up, right? Because what if something happened to that piece of wood that I'm trying to, you know, oh, look, it's coming right at me. Even if I put it down in this situation, it's going down at my legs. It's not safe. So I'm going to want to get myself in a safe situation where this is out of me. This right here, my buddy Dave calls this the triangle of death. Because if something happens with that knife in here, you can hit an artery and bleed out
This
before
is
you ever
a
make it to the
circle.
hospital, right?
This is a circle.
Yeah, and that's a weird shape. That's Kentucky. Yeah. So I've got this out of my zone, out of my triangle of death, right? And then I could sit there. Imagine if this was a stick that I'm trying to get shaved down. I could use that draw knife like this. I'm going to show you how to use a regular knife safely too. So when you kids are old enough to have your own knives, you'll know that it's an important tool that can be dangerous
Look,
if you don't know how it
looks
works.
like a boat knife.
Yeah, sure does. Got some more fat wood in here. Ooh, this is probably one of my most vital tools. This is the Scottish eye right here. So it doesn't make sense to go walking around with an electric drill bit where you're just gonna have the battery die in a half a day, right? So this little tool right here, I could sit there and have a stick, right? It's small enough to go through here, and I stick that down on some wood, and I keep spinning that. And that acts like a drill. That's super hard to replicate in nature, as far as to be able to put a hole into something in nature. I don't know if you've ever tried to take a knife and make a hole, but it's hard to do, you know, and it's kind of dangerous too. So that's a super, super important tool for my pack to always have. I got one of these in just about every bag that I carry. You know, granted, this is just a small pack. I'm not sitting here with, you know, trying to live out of this backpack by any means. All right, this awesome little bag is my fire starting kit. It looks like I still got some coffee roots in there that I was gonna use to make some antiviral stuff. So I open this bad boy up. Looks like we got some monkey hair in a bag. That way if I get rained on or something like that and I need to get a fire going. So think about this too, guys. Why is fire so important in Florida? I mean, it's not like I'm cold. Uh-oh.
Light.
Light. that's good, but two, what I just did with my ear, swatted that mosquito, right? And the most important, water. If we're in a survival situation and we need to get water out of that river or something like that, or out of a spring, I want to boil that water and boil those pathogens out, right? And I need a fire to be able to do that. And that's actually why fire is so important for survival down here. It's not to stay warm, because it doesn't get very cold. I'm sure you guys have noticed that, right? Mm-hmm. So I got some more fatwood chunks in there. I got a little string of jute twine, and even that's wrapped around a piece of fatwood. Like, why would I have some silly little piece of plastic that I don't need? Like, even my spool in that is something important and something vital. So even when I run out of that, I can use the spool for something, right? So I've got these little fire starting logs. You can see how old they are. I've never used them. I like to do it old school. But really, when it comes to survival situations, forget bushcraft. You know, forget the whole, oh, look at my new pants and my cool knife and I can survive with a hatchet. Like, cool, man, that's good to know too. But if you're in a real survival situation and you need a fast fire, you know, like, do you want to sit there and do it old school for likes on the gram, or do you want to stay alive? So some people might call these cheater sticks. Call me a cheater all you want, because I'll still be living for tomorrow too. You know what I mean? So it's kind of important that we don't get caught up in these facades, you know, of like, oh, I want to be the ultimate mountain man. I mean, you want to be the ultimate mountain man, it's best to stay alive for the next day, right? So it's good stuff to have. I've got a little knife in here that I can use for my my fatwood shavings. I could sit there and use the back of it to get finer shavings. I'll show you how to do that. Keep a separate knife in there in case I need something with a good edge, and I've ruined the edges on some of my other knives. So you'll never see me using this one, because it's kind of like a little backup blade that I'll also use like a skinning knife. If, let's say I just took down a deer or something like that and I need the skin. And then this most important tool in there, the ferro rod. So this guy, that's a steel striker and a ferrocerium rod. So you can either push to get sparks, or you can pull. I like the pull method. I feel like that aims it a little bit better. So I've got that in my fire starting kit, right? See what else we got in here. There's a little Altoids tin, or some kind of tin that I've got some punk wood that I've turned into char. So all this stuff is when I take spongy, corky wood that we like to call punk wood, like that rotten wood where it's squishy, and I put that inside of a tin and I turn it and I make it into char. That way I can make really, really easy fires if I need to. So all I did was I put a hole in that lid with my Scottish eye. Uh-oh, just knocked that over. I put a hole in with my Scottish eye out there. And the reason why I want these holes is because I need a place for the gases to escape. So when I put this punk wood that looks like normal squishy brown wood, it's not black yet, I put that in this tin. And then I set that lid with a hole on it over on the fire on some coals. In that hole, you're gonna see white smoke start bellowing out. And that's all those gases from that wood escaping. So the trick is, and I didn't learn this trick at first, is you wanna wait till it stops getting that smoke. That means it's ready. But then the trick is you don't wanna open it to check if it's ready yet. You wanna make sure it's cool to the touch before you open it and see if you've done it right. Because I used to make this mistake where I'd open it too soon when it was too hot, and the oxygen gets inside, and then it starts making that coal, that char into a live coal. And when you reopen that tin, it'll be nothing but a little layer of ash down there because it all smoked and burned out in there. We don't want that. We want this for later uses. An example of a reason why I would want some of this is, let's say I lost all my ferro rods or something like that. I got a little backup. I'll tell you one thing I'm never gonna lose is my compass. You know, because that thing will save your life, right? So I got my little compass out here, and I always make sure I get a compass with magnifying glass in it. One, so when I'm an old man, I can see the numbers a little bit better. And two, because I don't want to carry a magnifying glass and a compass. I want something minimal, right? airplane. So I can take this magnifying glass into the sunlight. I hold it right, there it is. And I can get that bead real small like that. And I can start putting a live coal with nothing but my magnifying glass in that. And when I start getting a little coal going in that, I can drop that into my little bird's nest that I'm about to make for you guys, made out of that monkey hair. And that's how I'd get my fire started. So I've got multiple backup plans going on right here. I've also got a little steel striker that I can use if let's say I've got a flint rock. I'm getting a fire like that going. Got a couple little good things of mosquito lotion in case some of the kids might need it. You might never guess what this little thing is. That's a saw. Yeah, a pocket saw. I can unfold all that and put it on wood and saw it in half. Got little teeth on there, but it'll fit in my pocket. Super, super convenient. So let's make ourselves a tiny little example of a fire. How you doing, Kentucky? You doing good, bub? Time out. I'm cool with that, dude. I'm overwhelmed too. Us Kentucky boys have a hard time keeping up sometimes. You too? All right. So, guys, now I've got my monkey hair. Remember this? Yep. So I've noticed when you're on the internet, you got to specify that you're not actually taking a bird's nest and setting it on fire. Well, I had people all kinds of mad at me. I don't know who you think I am. I got time to look for a bird's nest to light on fire, but I mean, I'm making a bird's nest. So I've got my finer material like this, and then I've got coarser material. Yeah, recycle. That's how much I love recycling. So I've got my finer material, and I want that to be on the inside, my finer material. So I'm just gonna start making a bird's nest. I got my finer material on the inside right there.
Hey, it's brown.
Yeah, it's like monkey hair, kind of orange like an orangutan. So see, I'm just sitting there with my thumbs, and I'm folding that in like a bird's nest. And the reason I want it kind of like a bird's nest is so I have a bowl, you know, something to sit there and put my shavings into, because I'm going to take some fat wood. I like some little pieces like this that I can put in my fire to help build it once I get it going. But I also like some long pieces, because if I'm sitting there, and how about you, Bubba? I want you to sit right there just for this little time, because I don't want you to get distracted when I get this knife out, okay? It's okay, you didn't do nothing wrong.
Say sure.
Yeah, thank you, Bubba. So I'm gonna get a different knife out,
Oliver.
and I'm gonna show you why I'm wanting to use a longer piece. Because if I'm sitting there and getting those shavings out, I'm using the back of my knife. I'm getting those shavings out. I want to have a lot of room to grip. It's not necessarily unsafe, it's just uncomfortable for me. So I like to always have the long pieces too, because I know I've got big hands. Now I don't have to sit there and hold it like a little teacup. I can sit there and get into it. See how I'm making those little shavings like that? I'm using the back of my knife. Now, a lot of times on the internet, I see people using a knife like this. This feels comfortable, right? Well, what if my knife should slip? Where's it going? Right into my triangle of death, okay? That's not good. Only a fool would do that. If I'm out in nature, I'm using this knife, or even if I'm in my kitchen, I'm gonna put this either over here and do the same thing, or I'm gonna use that to slice, get out of my triangle of death, or I'm way out here. You know, I've got long arms, so this is comfortable. Look at where my knife's gonna go. I ain't gonna cut nothing but a fart. Get it? Cutting air? I like that one. So, I like it a little too much. So, I'm using that, not putting myself in any danger. Now, if I'm gonna go slicing here, am I in danger? I think I might. See that toe? That's not very smart. And if I go and I make these shavings over here, they're gonna fall. So I'm gonna simply just get repositioned right here, get myself out of danger so my blade's going this way. And guys, by the way, knives are not made for a constant drag like this. They're not made to do that. You know, they're not chisels, they're knives. You know, knives are made to slice. So watch the difference. As I'm slicing that, I'm moving that blade along. This keeps my blade even, doesn't dull it in one spot, and it makes it work effectively. You know, so that's another kind of technique that I'm using, the scissor technique with that knife, because I'm being extra safe. I'm using my thumbs and projecting that outward like this. So I get me some shavings going up. See how I'm staying nice and safe. We're gonna work a little hatchet safety too, you know, because the problem is kids get into this survival stuff and nobody's taught them how to use the tools. And somebody's gonna end up getting hurt. It's my kind of job and my responsibility to make sure that kind of stuff never happens. So if you parents decide you want to get your child a ferro rod so they can practice, nothing wrong with that, but I want you parents to be keeping the ferro rods. You know, because if little Johnny over here wants to decide he's going to practice with that ferro rod up in his room and those sparks hit his comforter, you know, it could go up. You know, so as parents, we have to be the responsible ones, and only we know when that child is ready. You know, I met a 12-year-old out here yesterday, and she was ready to carry her own knife, already was. But I've also known 25-year-old men that shouldn't be given that responsibility. You know, so it really matters on the individual. Only you parents will know when your kid's ready for stuff like that. But remember, knives are not toys. These ferro rods, they are not toys. This is something sacred, guys, to learn how to make a fire. And in my culture, that we have what's called the fire spirit, right? And if you play with fire, the fire spirit won't like you anymore. And he won't make it so easy for you to light fires. And then when you need a fire, you'll find yourself not being able to make one because you played with fire too much. It's not good. So we never play with fire, we never play with knives, we never play with our hatchets. They're used like tools. So I'm gonna get down here and finish my little shavings. I'm not putting too much in here, because I'm really not gonna make an actual fire. Like, we're gonna set this one on fire so you guys can see how it's made. But if I was making a real life fire right now, I would have some twigs over here and some other sticks to get ready to put on this, right? Because that's how the fire works. Now, I've watched a lot of us dads sit there with half a gallon of gasoline and 3 different lighters and still not be able to light a fire properly around the camp. You know, so you guys will be able to say, hey, Dad, let me get this. I got it. So I'm going to need my ferro rod. And I'm going to be putting this out pretty quickly after I start it. The reason why is because I don't want the people who live around here in houses to see the smoke and get worried. You know, some neighbors know Captain Planet's back here teaching kids, but not all of them. You know, so they might think that, you know, there might be some teenagers out here starting fires or something like that, you know, and this is for educational use, so it's different, but it's still, you want to be respectful. You know, I don't want to scare any of my fellow people down here with the fire, you know, especially like if it was a little cloudy, you know, somebody might think it's a lightning fire, you know, and call the fire department and stuff like that. We don't want that. So I would have some other twigs ready to go to put on this, and I would be putting some more of that fat wood on, because the monkey hair burns up hot and very fast. I'm only gonna have like 10 seconds to get that fire going if I only use the monkey hair. If I use the fat wood too, it's gonna act like a very, very cool candle. You know, it'll stay lit. And if I'm in a situation where I don't have any fat wood, that's what my Vaseline's for. This stuff, petroleum jelly, I could swipe that monkey hair in the petroleum jelly and make that stay lit for 5 minutes to where I can get that fire going. So, see if the fire spirit still likes me enough to make a fire. I'm gonna put my fire right here, so I've got my steel striker right here, and then I simply just pull up. That's how easy it is to make a fire, guys. I didn't use a lighter or anything. Now see, that monkey hair burns real fast. I would have had to just get that going. But now you see that fat wood's starting to light up, and that stuff stays lit because it's full of sap. It's gonna sit there and keep burning and burning and burning. Now I've got time to get my fire going, right? Otherwise it would have already been out. I'm gonna go ahead and put it out because we don't want to scare folks. And I also kind of spread this out because I don't want a couple teenagers coming down here and then thinking it's okay to start fires. And then they add a bunch of wood to it and then they walk away and the whole place burns down. So I want to show you guys some of this stuff with the hatchet as well. because